As part of our ongoing series in our 50-year history of PS Audio, I wanted to cover a product that was really important to us. This was our first foray into digital audio, so I want to give you a little bit of background. In 1982, 83, Sony and Philips produced something that would change the world. And at about the same time, IBM came out with something that would also change the world. So in that heady time of the early 1980s, digital everything came on to the scene. There was no one that had a computer at home, and IBM released the PC, the personal computer. Everyone played music on a turntable and vinyl, and then all of a sudden, in that same time period, Philips and Sony came out with this optical disc thing called the compact disc. Those two changed the world forever. I mean, today, I remember when the IBM PC came out, there was really not much you could do with it. I mean, you could type stuff, but you had typewriters, so what good did that do? There was no spreadsheets. There were no, I mean, all the things you do today on a computer, none of that existed. And so I think it was a very, what we would call a blue ocean product, that they took a big chance and said, we think there's a market for people at home to have a computer. Lord knows what they're going to do with it, but they did. And Microsoft really went out on a limb and put out that PC. And Sony and Philips did the same. And they said, hey, instead of scraping vinyl, you should come up with this little silver disc and convert all your music. Now, this was great for them because they could resell everything that had been out on vinyl. So we wanted to get in on the act because I saw the future of audio as digital, as I still do today. Analog's great, don't get me wrong, love it. We have a great turntable setup. We make some of the finest phono preamplifiers in the world. We started our company out making phono preamplifiers. That's how we started. So we love vinyl, don't get me wrong. But the future is not in vinyl. The future is digital audio, has been for a while. So here is the CD1. Oh, barg. There's the back. Ugh. There's the front. Okay? Now, how did we jump into the CD business so quickly? Well, I'll tell you, here's what we did. It didn't take us too long to buy our first CD player. And that time in this country, Philips owned a subsidiary called Magnavox. And Magnavox was selling these newfangled CD players, right? So we bought a Magnavox CD player. We bought some CDs, Dire Straits, of course, and you know the standard fare of the limited amount of CDs available on the market at the time. And we listened to it, and it sounded pretty bad. Bright, harsh, flat, digital. That's how it got its bad name, right? It was just bad. And knowing how it worked, I found it difficult to believe that it was the technology that was at fault. So when we took it apart, what did we discover? Well, we discovered that inside was, of course, the CD mechanism. Then there was a separate little board that had the D to A converter, and on that board was a pair of little op amps. They were, at the time, probably the NE5532s. And that was the entire output stage. And I thought to myself, I think what they did is put all their energy into the hard stuff, the D to A converter, the CD mechanism, and they threw on an output stage, and this is what we got. Turned out I was right. How did we know that? Well, what I did is we basically sucked out the chips and used the holes for the chips to put wires in, and then we built what we knew to be, from all of our experience with preamplifiers, with phono stages, a discrete output stage that I knew sounded great because we had been using it on vinyl and all that, right? So we knew it sounded great, and all of a sudden the CD sounded amazing. Was it as good as vinyl? No. But compared to what Magnavox was putting out and people were buying, it just blew it away. So all we did is we replaced the little integrated circuit output stage that they had built, and we put in a nice long board with its own power supply and all that, and it sounded terrific. Now the next problem was, okay, how do we make a product? Well, what we did is we went out and we bought hundreds of Magnavox players. They had a little plastic faceplate. We pulled the faceplate off. We put our own faceplate on that covered up the word Magnavox, and if you pull this faceplate off, you'll see Magnavox on it. This is literally a Magnavox CD player with a different front panel. And the difference is inside, of course, we have our circuit. So when you bought a PS CD1, you bought basically a modified Philips Magnavox CD player, and the CD1 was that player with a front panel and our own circuitry, and we sold a lot of these, and our biggest problem was getting players. We would scour all across the United States. Here's a guy who's got 100 of them. Here's a guy that's got, and we try and make a deal. We'd bring them in, strip them down, put them out, but that is the CD1, and that is how PS Audio got into digital. All right. Hope that helps. Thanks. Bye.